Hello and welcome back to Snapping Towels. However, you may be listening, thank you for making us part of your day. This is episode lucky number 13. Kyle, how's it going?
It's going great. The witching hour weekend for a lot of teams, a lot of fourth quarter magic, some comebacks, some overtime thrillers. I wasn't expecting it this weekend. I don't know about you, but it really caught me by surprise.
Wasn't expecting as eventful a weekend as we got. Last week, a lot of people kind of dubbed it Rivalry Week. There were definitely some rivalries in play. You had your Army, Navy, and a few others, and it feels like Brown
Michigan,
Cornell has
Ohio
become a
State.
rivalry. Ohio State, Michigan didn't have Lehigh Loft and didn't have Harvard, Yale, so I can't call it rivalry weekend without those two. But it was an insane weekend.
Maryland
Started with
Hopkins.
Sure, Maryland Hopkins started with a huge game on Thursday Night Lax, UNC at Notre Dame, massive ACC and NCAA tournament implications. Notre Dame ran away with this one.
Yeah, they weren't messing around. They're hitting their stride at the right time, I think. I think UNC hit it a little early, and I think Notre Dame's hitting it right at the right time late in the season. It was just never a game. And it's the second time this Thursday night game's been a kind of a shit show.
Yeah, definitely disappointing. More of a lopsided game, but it's fun to see. It's fun to see Notre Dame kind of round into form. I think Notre Dame's a dangerous team. I don't think anybody wants to see Notre Dame right now, unless you're the Maryland Terrapins. I think you don't care who you see. But no, Maryland's good, and I think Notre Dame's very good, and if they take care of business in the Dome this weekend, I think they cement their spot as probably the third and final ACC team to get into the tournament.
Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of the same story that we've been talking about all year for UNC. Kind of having no offensive flow and a lot of empty possessions other than Chris Gray. No one really shows up in the stat sheet, especially when they only had, 5 goals. I think it was just kind of a day that you wish you had more opportunities for a Tar Heel. On the other side,
Yeah.
then Eric Dobson, who we were coining probably an ACC player of the year type caliber player early on, maybe episode 1, he had a big day.
Yeah, kind of a slow start to the season, but he's really come on. He popped in a third quarter hat trick. Also, Jake Taylor registered another hat trick. He is white hot right now. I was pretty amazed by the Kavanaugh brothers. Those two are so unafraid of any contact, not only as ball carriers, but as riders. I mean, they look like hockey players out there, which I know they are, but they hit like hockey players. They kind of go down with the hit as well.
Yeah.
Shoulder, elbow, and they seem like they're
hip.
flying the opposite direction when they hit guys as well. And they put people on their backs. They don't care if it's a big pole or a goalie. Those guys are riding like banshees, creating opportunities for Notre Dame, extra possessions. Also, Notre Dame's man up is disgusting. They're the best man up in the country in terms of percentage. Absolute machine on man up. They have insane range with Dobson, insane vision with the Kavanaugh brothers, and Jake Taylor inside catches and finishes everything. Notre Dame is dangerous, took care of business.
This was a dominating performance. Goalies were in high percentages. Faceoffs were in high percentages. It was just Notre Dame all Thursday night.
Brown Cornell, another game that we wish had been a little bit closer. It kind of feels as though Cornell, I don't want to say it too soon. We're fans of the Big Red and Connor Busick, but it feels as though they kind of peaked in March.
Yeah, you hope they kind of turn around and make a wave in the Ivy League playoffs, but that's kind of the writing on the wall as it is right now, coming off a couple losses. And kind of the opposite trajectory for the Brown Bears, which had a ridiculous full complete game, I thought, against Cornell.
Yeah, Connor Terrio, we've mentioned him several times this year. We've said it before. He takes up a lot of cage, but I also want to give the kid a lot of credit. He makes a lot of stick saves too.
He has 21 saves.
Check that. Not sure, but he is seeing it as well as anyone in the country right now. And Brown really proving, look, we do have a great offense. We are great in transition, but we can play lockdown D as well. To hold this Cornell team to 8 goals is no small task. That being said, Cornell coming off back-to-back underwhelming offensive performances. They look a little bit stale on offense. And it feels
Not
as though
able
their
to
opponents
draw
have kind of figured them
slides.
out. Yeah, exactly.
He had 24 saves. So
24 saves.
that's a day and a half.
That's obscene. That is obscene.
And it kind of ignites. He's the the igniter for the Brown Bears. They don't have that attackman that's going to get you 8 to 10 points a game or necessarily. They're a full team, and it really starts with him in cage. I think having big days, transition offense, creating opportunities for their middies to get kind of downhill. Jack Kelly had a day as well, coming off his big performance against Yale.
Yeah, I still really like the Brown offense. We talk a lot about their defense now, but their offense is just so well balanced. The recent emergence of the midfield is going to prove to be very, very valuable. We do have inside sources at the Brown program that have notified us that Darian Cook suffered a season-ending injury a few weeks ago. I hope that's not true. We're not 100% sure. We can't confirm it, but that is what we hear from some pretty reliable sources. That's a big loss. He is arguably their best attackman.
Him and McLean,
he or McLean, either one, arguably their best attackman. I think they're really going to need him. Heading into the Ivy League tournament, they got to play these teams again, right? This Brown team is coming off the most impressive 3-game stretch, I think, in all of Division I lacrosse this year, beating Penn at Penn, Yale, and then beating Cornell at Cornell. 3 teams that 3 or 4 weeks ago we thought could all vie for top 5 status.
Definitely.
Brown, credit to them. I think I predicted they'd lose all 3 of these games, so I was wrong on all 3. But the Brown Bears are for real, and another team that nobody's licking their chops to play.
Yeah, I mean, Cornell's really hitting a little lull. I think they'll have a resurgence. John Pitelli netted 5. He shoots a crazy over the top shot that can kind of throw off goalies. He had 16 shots, so he was their main offensive shooter. Kirst had 16 as well on 1 goal. That is shooting 6% for our listeners that cannot do the quick math, and that's not a good day.
No, it's not. On the other side of the field, Devin McLean and Brian Antonelli kind of picked up the slack on attack with no Darian Cook. Each had 4 and 1. Brown's got threats on offense. We'll see if they can repeat. It's tough to beat these teams twice, so we'll see how they fare in the Ivy League tournament.
Yeah, another team that's gonna that's gonna hit that kind of wave of seeing teams again that really gave teams good ball games and stumped some teams. The Harvard Crimson.
Yeah.
Coming off a win at home against Princeton. It's a huge game.
Massive win, 19-16 win over Princeton. This really muddies up the Ivy League.
What a swing.
Yeah, had Princeton taken care of business here, I think they would have kind of cemented themselves as the host for the Ivy League tournament. And some other seedings would have been a little bit more clear. This Harvard win really throws a lot of people for a loop. Harvard had 8 different goal scorers, led by freshman attackman Sam King, who had 3 and 2. Another freshman attackman, Miles Botkiss, had 4 goals. So they're young and dangerous down in attack. Really like that. I know they have a freshman midfielder that Kyle really likes as well.
Yes, coming out of the SoCal area, Owen Gaffney continues to have big games. He went 2 and 2 on the day. Had a huge hit in the ride. That was a Energizer Bunny kind of play. But yeah, I mean, he had a man up step down. That Harvard's young, talented, and hungry, and they haven't been able to kind of show what they've been able to do as far as recruits in the last decade. So it's really exciting to see this program kind of take a turn and start bearing some wins.
Yeah, I don't think it's any coincidence that they've invested so much in their social media game over the last 5 or 6 years, and they're starting to churn out some Ivy League W's. Harvard goalie Kyle Mullen had 18 saves as well.
Savage.
That'll do it against a top 5 team like Princeton.
I don't know what it is this year, but the goalie play has been off the charts.
I
Like,
know. I think there's a combination of a few things. I do think the goalie play has improved dramatically. I think there was kind of a lull there where we were lacking really elite goalies, which is maybe why we saw so many PLL and MLL goaltenders hold on to their jobs
stick
for so
around,
long.
yeah.
But also in the new shot clock era, there's so many possessions, and every possession has like an outcome, a meaningful
Any kind
outcome.
of shot, yeah.
Yeah, a shot or a save or a
It's
goal.
rare they'll toss to the corner.
So I do think that the save numbers are a touch inflated, but I do want to give these kids credit. They're definitely they've definitely stepped their game up. Princeton's offense, they continue to be able to score on anybody. Defense can't stop a nosebleed. So putting up 16 goals again, but losing 19-16 is no bueno.
Yeah, that's one where everyone just kind of looks at the D coordinator and what's going on that side of the ball and just kind of says, you know what, if we put up this many goals, we should have a game kind of wrapped up. So it's kind of unfortunate to a defense and a transition game that we had pegged as pretty groovy earlier in the year. And now it's people, I guess, have figured out their sauce. I think 2 weeks ago they broke out they might have a pretty quick 2-game swing recently where they broke out the versus Dartmouth. They played the 16th and the 23rd. Dartmouth, they had the nice football helmets on.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Those got some waves.
Yeah. Those are money. Those are money.
I don't know if those were discussed last episode, but speaking of the Big Green, they had a nail biter versus Penn. I think not a nail biter, I should say, but they're in the game, something Dartmouth hasn't been able to do in 20 years probably. And it's exciting for the Penn alumni and the Penn community to kind of be in some of these Ivy League games against the heavy hitters.
Yeah. Kyle's talking about the Dartmouth alumni and Dartmouth community, but yeah, I mean, credit Dartmouth for giving all these Ivy League heavyweights, real games. Much needed win for Penn. I think it was almost, I mean, Penn couldn't lose this game. They weren't going to lose this game. 16-12 win over Dartmouth. Again, Dartmouth's no easy out. Dylan Gergar with 6 goals, Hanley with 3 and 2. Those two guys show up every game. Penn is lacking a little bit in third, fourth, and fifth scoring options in the second half of the year.
Defense, like if you're Penn's defense,
they've given up a lot of goals as well. The Ivy League has been kind of fireworks all year. The Ivy League's been kind of fireworks all year on the offensive end. But look, Penn gets the much needed win, but they still sit because of the kind of muddy wins. Harvard beating Princeton, Brown beating Cornell. They sit at 6th in the Ivy League right now, which is absolutely outrageous.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is though. Like, I think they have the talent to be a top 4 team, but if you don't show up every week, it's like they think teams aren't gutting for them this year. It's kind of interesting. Just their approach. I saw a clip on social media of Gagar riding was one of his goals. I think it was the 15th tally of the game, and it kind of seemed like the game was out under wraps. And I don't know what the environment was, if there's any kind of subtlety, trash talk, or some hits that went on that would have caused this. But he had a huge riding play, came around, stuffed one on pretty much an open goal.
Backhanded. It was a nice play.
And he freaked out.
It was a nice play. Yeah, it seemed as though he scored the game winner in
a natty
in the Ivy League championship game or something like that.
I was like, what? Like, I'm a firm believer of act like you've been there when scoring those types of goals against those games you should win as your team versus matched up versus their team. I get it. Every game's big, especially in the Ivy, but I didn't see any need for it, but I wasn't there and I was in the energy, and I guess he did. So kudos to him. I want to see that kind of flair. I've seen him score big goals and it hasn't looked like that. So I wonder what kind of bone he had with my Big Green.
Yeah, we've been big fans all year of Dylan Gergar and the Penn Quakers. Really hope we can see them in the Ivy League tournament, but right now it's looking like they're on the outside looking in. to another league that is
stalemate of a game.
Has become more interesting than I think we all thought, as the Patriot League. And, the top two teams in the league, BU at Lehigh, absolute old school Pat League rock fight of a game, 9-8 final. You don't see too many of those these days. BU must be for real, man. They're 7-0 in the Patriot League, running the table so far. They have a massive tilt against Army this weekend, which I think is even bigger due to Army's loss.
Yeah.
But yeah, good for BU. BU's got two nice attackmen, Louis Perfetto and Tommy Lee. Tommy Lee. It's Ley. But Perfetto had 1 and 3, and Tommy Lee had a hat trick.
Those guys are up around 70 points this year. They can bury it. It's both Long Island kids. Must be fun for them. The only
BU's got an interesting Long Island pipeline.
They do have a lot of New York on the roster, and the only thing that really stumps me with BU is when they see an out of conference team. It's sketchy. They're very comfortable in the Patriot League. Outside the Patriot League, not really sure. They've lost to 3 Ivies, Harvard, Yale, Princeton. We talked about that last episode. And then they beat a good UMass team.
Yeah, they're 10-3.
They've had one of the better years probably in program history, but I wish, you get one of those Ivy League wins, then you're sitting in like the 15 ranked range.
That's if they had notched one of those Ivy League wins, we'd be looking at a different story right now. They're 10-3. Their only 3 losses, as Kyle just said, were to Ivy League teams. A 13-10 loss against Harvard, a 15-22 loss against Yale, and a 12-7 loss to Princeton. There's no shame. No shame in losing to any of those teams. But yeah, one of those wins, we're looking at a different animal for sure. But to BU's credit, they're taking care of business where they need to. They're 7-0 in the Patriot League and will host they've already sealed the deal. They're hosting their first Patriot League tournament in program history. So that'll be
awesome.
An interesting scene.
I think it's a great stadium they got up there and everything. I just hope cool. Some students can rally behind the team and they get some kind of crowd. I don't know what the deal is. Every time we went there, it was like some parents in the stands, and that was pretty much it. So I hope they get that environment kind of jumping when the Patriot League rolls into town, because it's going to be a crazy tournament.
It will be an interesting tournament. The league's deeper than I think we gave it credit for earlier in the year. Lehigh in this game only had 3 goal scorers.
Not a lot of production coming from the Hawks.
The Mountain Hawks are going to need more than that to make a push in the Patriot League, and they're in a place where the only way they could possibly get in this tournament is a Patriot League championship. 2 other Patriot League teams that went in an absolute battle
slugfest
this past weekend. Your classic rivalry, Army Navy. Army hosted Navy this weekend.
I thought you were going to give me the Loyola Colgate game. No. Both overtime thrillers for the listeners.
Yeah,
but he was dragging me through the ringer as long as you guys for that one. It's hilarious. The rivalry made me laugh. But yes, Army Navy, back to the rivalry.
Definitely the upset of the weekend. I mean, Navy's had a so-so year. They're most likely not going to make the Patriot League tournament. Army, I felt, before this past weekend, was an automatic in the NCAA tournament. I really do think this puts them on a little bit more thin ice. I don't think they need to win the Patriot League championship, but this puts a lot of pressure on them this weekend against BU. I mean, Army needs another win or 2, I think, to really solidify their tournament resume, because this is a bad loss in the committee's eyes, I believe.
Yeah, it bumped a lot of it. I mean, they weren't getting the respect they deserved kind of all year, which is unfortunate, especially for probably the best Patriot League team out there now. They
finally got the respect once they kind of smoked Cornell. So it was too bad.
And then they dropped to like 18. It's like they're still 10-3.
And they lost, a rivalry game against the Navy midshipmen who are going to come to play.
And they know each other so well. And that's the game where kind of all bets are off. Same with the football game. You just kind of never know. You do know it'll be under.
You do know you can bet the under in the football game. You do know that. That's one thing you know.
Kyle's bet the over 3 times. Oh, shit. But anyways, yeah, no, the Patriot League tournament's going to be interesting. Lehigh and Loyola both sitting at 5-2, Boston at 7-0, and Army now at 5-2. Those are the four teams that are at the top of the chart. And then there'll be one little playing game probably between I don't know, Navy and Colgate.
No, Colgate's not getting in.
Oh no,
It's
Bucknell.
Bucknell.
Well, you never know.
I think Colgate's mathematically out.
They're 2-5. Bucknell's 3-4.
Bucknell beat Colgate, so they have the head-to-head.
Right, and they're going to be at Holy Cross this weekend, unless they lose to Holy Cross this weekend.
Anyway, one very interesting note about this Army-Navy game. Wyatt Schulper, who we all think is a future PLL goaltender, only had 3 saves.
Was not seeing the pebble at Memorial.
Yeah, that it was actually at Mikey Stadium. But
really?
Yep. Army hosted. But that is a shocker. You know, if he has a decent game with 6 saves, you know, they get the win, and they're kind of cooking with gas right now. But that's I was really shocked when I saw that. But yeah, Army's got some pressure going on them going into BU.
On the flip side, Xavier Ireland is kind of his breakout party. He's had kind of a slow season, big time recruit, also a quarterback on their football team.
Yep, triple option quarterback.
You know, I thought he played a great game, and he kind of led them the whole way as their go-to beat a man kind of guy, which was awesome to see. I've been waiting. He had a big highlight reel in high school. It was cool to see him pop off for 4 points.
Agreed. Yeah, for sure. 2-2 against Army is no small task. Let's talk about top performers, Kyle. Who do you have for the weekend?
I got Xavier Ireland, honestly, leading the charge for Army for Navy in that huge win versus Army, Patriot League foe. I think, you know, his game, if he can kind of up his game every year, he'll be a person people are talking about at the start of the season.
Definitely has the tools to be an All-American attackman before he leaves Annapolis for sure. I'm going with Ty Kurtz. I'm going back to my Delaware Blue Hens here. Ty Kurtz, Delaware attackman. They had a 16-15 win over CAA opponent Drexel. This kid had 8-1. So he had half his team's goals, also an apple.
Just for flair.
Yeah, not bad. Delaware is sitting at the 2 spot in the CAA right now. Towson is set to host the tournament unless they get upset by Hofstra this weekend. Delaware beat Towson already this year. You know, I think Delaware is my favorite for the CAA, as I discussed in January. Feels like a decade ago at this point. But
been to Towson to watch a little CAA playoff action. It's a great environment for it, and it was actually the game where UMass beat Hofstra with Byrne and Jack Kincannon, and it was Kincannon's senior year, and it was the end of the game. There was like 4 seconds left. The kid picked up at the top of the box and heaved one at the net, and it just bounced right in. It's a ball game. It's kind of ripped the hearts out of the Hofstra pride. But anyway,
CAA is a gritty conference, always a fun conference tournament.
I think we've been rambling too much. I think we hop in this interview with Brett Dobson. It was quite the fireworks show.
Yep. Let's kick it to Brett. Really appreciate him taking the time to sit down with us today. Joining us is Brett Dobson, goaltender for the St. Bonaventure Bonnies, absolutely lighting the world on fire between the pipes this year. Has his Bonnies sitting at the top of the MAC as it currently stands. Brett, thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me, fellas. Happy to be here.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely. We'll fire it up. And normally the first question we like to give the people is kind of a background on how you started playing lacrosse and who first got a stick in your hand.
Well, for me, I started playing when I was about, 4 or 5 years old back home in, Whitby, Oshawa, Ontario at the time. My parents are, both phys ed teachers, and they're kind of big on me playing a lot of sports. And with my dad being a phys ed teacher, he had a couple of pro lacrosse players come through his school, and that kind of got me introduced. So I ended up getting my first stick when I was about 5 or 6. Started off as a player, played a lot of box lacrosse back home. Eventually ended up making the switch over to goalie when I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. But Ended up playing, had some really, really good coaches, legendary coach Sean Williams, who holds multiple records in the NLL, and his son currently plays at Duke University. And then we also had a guy by the name of Adam Foote, legendary NHL defenseman for the Colorado Avalanche, coach us.
Yeah.
His son Nolan was on our team as well. So we had a pretty good team then. I want to say we had 3 or 4 guys, myself, one of my partners in crimes down here at Bonaventure, and Sean Wesley, Dyson Williams at Duke. Nolan Foote was obviously on the team as well. And then we had our goalie at the time was actually one of the girls' goalies here at St. Bonaventure. So it's kind of funny how things worked out. But we had kind of a dynasty team growing up, and then kind of the rest is history.
Sounds like a stacked roster.
Yeah, a couple of good athletes we had there. I think that it kind of allowed us to kind of set the foundation moving forward for lacrosse and the kind of the Whitby Oshawa area.
Yeah, was the talent you guys were going up against as good or competitive, or was it kind of a runaway every game?
So we ended up winning. So for us, we did provincials, right? So we ended up winning provincials every year in our major year, except for 1 year. So every 2 years we would win basically with that older group. But the talent was good. When we got older, we ran into a little bit of trouble. So we played against Mimico. Mimico was really good for field. They had Peyton Cormier, who's currently at University of Virginia Attackman. They had Thomas McConvey, who was on the Towerton watch list, I believe, at Vermont. They had Liam Limoges, who was at Vermont as well. They had the Hague twins, who are both at Cleveland State. Jonathan Peshko, who's at at Hopkins right now, and a bunch of kind of other guys. So they were kind of our toughest rival. Then the other rival that was big for us was Clarington, and they had a couple guys. One guy who's at Albany right now, one guy who's at UNC as a pole. But as we got older, those guys eventually ended up becoming our teammates in junior because it's kind of like that town between the towns. So we kind of absorbed them. But the competition was definitely tougher as it got older. But when we were younger, we were kind of ahead of people because we were just so exposed to kind of like what a high level lacrosse was with Willie, and obviously with Footy as our coach as well.
Yeah, it's a laundry list of names in Division I. That's impressive that you just rattled them off like that, honestly.
Yeah, crazy. Like there's a lot up there. People just aren't they haven't put together that and then a bunch of us end up going to the Hill, and you'll see them talk about Dylan Watson, Joshua Wada, Tyson Williams, all those guys we all played together for our last years at the Hill. We were all the same age group. Jake Saunders, to name a few other guys, right? We had a really, really good team. We just had a couple bad losses here or there our last year in high school. But yeah, with a lot of talent coming out of Canada, that's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Always has been. It's been fun to see in the last 10 to 15 years for them really to be cracking the Division I ranks, right? Felt like before that, it was a lot of Division III, Division II. Obviously, you had your John Grant Juniors and your Gates kind of headlining Division I, but now the influx and the box influence on Division I games is really cool and has added a new dynamic, which we love on Snapping Towels. Wanted to ask you, were there any goalies growing up that you modeled your game after? And if so, were you able to meet any of them, develop a relationship with any of them, anything like that?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess talked about a lot, obviously, for myself as I got older and started to understand more things. It was Dylan Ward, just because you see what he's done, especially as a Canadian goalie and on the world stages. You get to kind of see, the success he has, and kind of that gives you kind of that poster kind of do you want to be like when you're older, and hopefully try and be better than him at some point, right? So I think for me it was him. But when I was really younger, it was they used to. I'm not sure if you guys remember the Toronto Nationals. So Dice's dad played for them a lot, and I would go. And they had Queener. Queener was their goalie, and he was, in his prime a bit more, turning the jets on, picking up the ball, going for a run. So I felt like for me, kind of seeing him, that's what was kind of ooh, this kind of looks fun. I could maybe try and do this. So he was kind of one of the first goalies I kind of saw. I was okay, I liked him a lot. So the two goalies I remember when I was younger was Queener, because of how fast he was, and he also had the first name Brett, so that kind of stuck out to me. And then the other one, looking back at it now, was Scotty Rogers, was the backup for the Nationals. So those were two kind of goalies that when I was younger, I kind of got introduced to the game and kind of admired. And then as I got older, it was more Dylan Ward on the kind of just understanding his game and being more of a kind of a Canadian goalie and how his style kind of translates over as well with the box and field game.
Yeah, man, you definitely have some resemblances to Dylan Ward. There's no doubt about that between the pipes.
So you're coming out of the Hill School and you guys have a top ranked team. You're traveling all over the country playing the best American teams, private school, whatever it is, and having success. So playing U19 national ball as well for Team Canada. How'd your recruiting trip go, and why'd you end up at St. Bonnie's?
So I got to correct you there. So I never played U19 Team Canada. I was too old. I played in the world. It's not the World Games. I played in the sixes stuff this past fall, and then I've done the fall classic.
Pre-COVID, yeah.
stuff. So that was my Team Canada experience. But as the recruiting story kind of goes, I was at the Hill. I was kind of under recruited. I only ever had one offer. It was to St. Bonaventure, so I kind of took it. Part of the big reason because of that was because I wanted to play for Coach Mearns because he was the Team Canada coach. I'd visited him when he was at Canisius. And I kind of joked that he kind of ghosted me because just some stuff with the program, not having money. So and he wanted me to originally take a PG year and go there as a 19. And then he ended up kind of taking the job at St. Bonaventure. He ended up giving me a phone call and kind of give me the whole spiel about being the first recruit. He wanted me to be first one on campus, first phone call, and first commit. So that's kind of what kind of led me to kind of go to St. Bonaventure. At the time, I want to get stuff taken care of before my senior year because obviously you got to kind of panic if you're not doing that to make sure you check off all the core requirement courses to get into a school. And I wanted to make sure I had all my stuff taken care of. So that kind of was all about timing. So Coach Mearns had kind of seen me play a little bit and heard through kind of the grapevine for a couple of coaches in Canada about a goalie that he might want to take a look at. And then eventually he kind of saw it. And then I was playing in the Geico National Championship I want to say I was in grade 11, getting called up to play with the senior team. And he just happened to be watching. I was like, oh, okay, like this kid, he's not bad. Maybe I'll give him a look. And that's kind of how I got in contact with him back at St. Bonaventure again, and then kind of just rolled from there and been building off it. And, our relationship's been great. And I think that, I got to give a lot of my success and credit to him because he's given me opportunities to kind of be exposed to what, the international game looks like when you look at a lot of pro players, like when you get to see those guys shoot on you and you come back to the, the NCAA game, it's a lot different. The game speeds faster and you get to kind of get that taste of what you want to kind of work on to be able to make sure that you can, you can compete at that level. So each day you kind of get an idea of what you need to work on. And I think that's what's helped me out in my development, allowed me to kind of become a better goalie because of it. So I got to thank Coach Mearns for that and thank him as well for picking up the phone the second time after he kind of ghosted me.
Awesome. So Brett, some big news dropped last week. Here on Snapping Towels, we're kind of calling you a pioneer. In case our listeners don't know, would love for you to share what that decision was and some insight as to why you made it.
So that decision for myself was to forego my extra year of eligibility with the fifth year and declare a year early for the PLL draft and try and be one of the goalies that gets called in that 4-round draft. I think kind of the reason behind it, I look at it like this: my degree here is in personal and team coaching. It's a sports studies degree. So the way I look at it, the best way to get experience in that field is obviously through playing lacrosse, but also through opportunity of coaching. And I, kind of had an idea that I want to kind of go back and be, one of the goalie coaches at the Hill and kind of make a lacrosse my full-time job. I've always dreamed of doing that kind of stuff. I've seen a lot of people being able to do it. And I wanted to be able to do that for myself. And I also look at kind of the writing on the wall with, there's been, Charlie Cipriano, Drew Adams, both retired. There's 2 spots that open up. There's also, 1 or 2 other ones of goalies being moved around to the player pool and free agent signings, as well as Galloway's retirement too. So I see all these goalies retiring. It's kind of like one thing, like you think about how long like Galloway, Drew Adams, even Cipriano all played for him around the league. I think that for myself, like getting the chance to get in that spot and the timing's now. And I think that with the season that, our team's had so far, I think it was a good timing for me to kind of make that decision because I want to obviously take that next step and be ready to go for kind of a world games perspective. And I want to play against the best and, the best are in the PLL. I think that if I played against some of the international stage, getting the opportunity to try and do it professionally and make a living off it is something I've always wanted to do and I've always dreamt of. And I think that trying to get that opportunity now is something I wanted to take. And I felt that looking at a lot of things, like I'm not necessarily a school guy. Like I'm a lax guy. I love the sport. I love being around it. I love coaching it.
Amen.
Like kind of just love watching film and watching tape and seeing what guys are doing. Like I think that for me, like if that's like something that you're passionate about and you're focused on that, then why not do it to the best of your abilities? And I think that, there's a lot of people that are passionate about other things in the world, whether it be, business, marketing, finances, want to work a job on Wall Street. And, taking that 5th year to kind of get that MBA would have made sense. But I think that as a coach, like you got to get experience before, if you want to get a real job after you're done playing. I think the best way for me to do that is to, try and do it at the high school level right away. And that way I can kind of start to build my resume up that way. And then as well, kind of focus on that playing side of things. And I know that, the league is not where it is with the NBA or with the NFL, but I think that it's going to be there. And in order for it to be there, they need to have, people taking that leap of faith like they kind of had originally with all those guys that decided to switch over from the MLL. And I think that for myself, it's going to be kind of something that, gets pioneered that way as well. And the way I look at it too, like I see a lot of people talk about it kind of as pioneering and, and I'm grateful for that. But I believe Ament did the same thing pre-COVID, or when COVID hit, he had an extra year of eligibility because he had broke his foot, correct?
Yep,
and he didn't take his extra year. So I think that that a lot of people are kind of saying that it's Pioneer, but I think Ament did it first. And I think that, I think he's doing a great job with the sport. And obviously, you look at what he's done for numerous amount of kids and fans and all these camps and clinics he's able to run, and his kind of deal he's got with Warrior. Like, for myself, I envision myself kind of having a similar trajectory with goalies. I just started my brand, BD45 Goal Tank. You guys kind of see the hoodie I got on right now.
Oh, yeah, I love it. Yep.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna ask you about it, but let's hear about it.
Into that too, but big because I love coaching these kids. I want to get these kids to the next level, right? And I think that through playing, like the more you play, you kind of get more of a rep for that kind of stuff, right? And more experience and more kids, and the more they see you on TV, the more they're going to want to be like you, right? So I think that, kind of combining all those things together was what kind of went into my decision to do that. And I definitely tested the waters in terms of, looking at the portal and visiting a couple of schools, and had some schools reach out. I just felt that for myself financially, it wasn't really going to work. And I felt that, getting the opportunity to go play pro and living out a dream is something I've always wanted to do. And, trying to take it now is something that I felt passionate about. And I think that for me, it'd be something that'd be pretty cool.
That's awesome. And not jumping too far forward. And, these questions are kind of, people don't really like to answer, but perfect scenario, draft day comes around. What's the team you'd love to join?
I'll give you a less complicated answer. I mean, any team that gets the chance to call my name, I'll be very grateful for that. But if I look at all the teams that are kind of there, there's a couple of teams that I look right off the jump that would appease me. And I know one of them's the Cannons, because obviously I think they sent Stover to the player pool, and they have Morocco. And I think that with the Cannons, obviously you got a great leader and my old coach and Brody Merrill on the back end. Any chance you get a chance to play with him, he demands the most out of you and respect. He kind of knows a lot about myself and how I play. And I look at all the Canadians that they have on their roster with Shane Jackson, Tyson Bell, and all those guys, Holden Garland, like guys I played with. Like I would feel comfortable walking into that room and seeing, it's like a bunch of boxes. I played with these guys before, right? I think building off that, I think this is a little more far-fetched, but I think, Chaos would be a great place to land, especially with all those Buffalo Bandits guys they have there, seeing what Burno and Dane and, Klutz and Kyle Jackson, all those guys can do would be fun. But I ultimately think too, and I look at this from a Team Canada's perspective, I think, the Archers could be a great thought, I think too, just because you look at Graham Hossick. Graham Hossick's one of the best long poles in the world. He's not talked about enough. And I think that if he's going to be using that gate can opener head this year, you're going to see a lot more yard sales coming out of him. He's a lot of fun to play with. And you look at a guy like Warren Jeffries, Latrell Harris, all these guys are basically the backbone of Team Canada's defense of the next World Games. I think that getting the chance to gel and play with those guys, I think for me personally, I would have the most success with, because I've played with Graham Hossick in Hill alumni games. He used to coach me in U19 lacrosse in Oshawa. His dad was a coach. He was helping out before he was playing professionally. And then Moose is also a couple of years older than I am, and just having a relationship with him and playing with him. And then obviously you got, Scott Ratliff as the LSM. He played with one of my, my boss back home for coaching with Reed Acton and won a national championship with him. So I think that being able to lean on those guys and learn from them as being as a young guy, I would feel more comfortable in a situation like that. Because, when you know somebody, you feel kind of welcomed right away, and you kind of get past that awkward phase where you have to introduce people. So the less awkward phase you have to go through that, the better it is for team chemistry. And I think that any chance you get, an opportunity to play with guys, that are so good at the next level, you take it. I think that everyone in this league good, and I'd be lucky to have my name called by any one of the 8 teams. But I think those 3 or 4 of you, what I feel we're most comfortable with.
Perfect answer. One thing I want to say, your historical recall of the game is refreshing, and your ability to rattle off these names is freaking awesome. Also, one quick thing, you mentioned the gate can opener. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I don't actually have one of the heads. I have the Torque 2 in my hands here, but the can opener head's the one that has the ledges on the sides. Right? I don't know if you've seen that one. They just dropped it. They said it was legal in the
I saw that little snafu.
Yeah. So I think that, I just look at, I've had a chance to string up a couple of them. And honestly, I first thought, I was like, ooh, this is weird. And then I kind of started stringing it. I was like, no, like this is actually really nice. I think that like when you use it, it's going to help. I look at all these stick companies, and the kind of part of the argument for why it was legal was they're trying to make sure guys can shoot the ball faster, shoot it harder, have more control, especially in the NCAA. They took away the U, so the ball can come out, right? And this whole point of the stick kind of be able to jar the ball free and loosen up their sticks and be able to kind of put that ball on the ground more so. And I think that it's great off the ground for loose balls, especially with their scoops, and obviously the ends of it help pick off passes with how wide it is. But I definitely think that the gates have a the right idea, especially Paul. Paul's got a brain that's on none other, especially, and Gary too, just ideas to kind of flow lacrosse ideas. And I think that Their brand is in, a great spot right now. It's only going to go higher and higher as time goes on. They start to really dive in more and not reinvent the wheel, but revolutionize certain positions. Like I look at, you guys follow the Art of Lax stuff?
Yep.
Yeah, so they just had their, TD's obviously their face-off guy with Gate. And I think that you kind of look at his stick and what TD's doing, what they're doing. And obviously you get the engineers behind it. Then you get like the wheels flowing with, the kind of okay, what can we do here? What can we do there? Right. I think that more people that are involved and are kind of like lax rats and kind of tell what they like and sticks and what they don't want. Could you do this? Could you not do this? What can we keep? What can we not keep? Where can we have a head flex? I think it's going to be something that's really cool. So I think that, their brand's going to be in a great spot with those guys like that. And, I think that the Torque 2 is going to be really, really good for offensive guys, both in field and box.
Yeah,
Cool.
That's incredible. We had Paul Gate come in when he was working at Under Armour. He came to Loyola to talk to us about like what Under Armour stuff was coming out and all these things. And he was super excited on a heated shaft to keep your hands warm that they're working on.
Love that in upstate New York. It gets a little cold up here sometimes. So
yes, it does, Brett. I played in upstate New York. It's not it's winter lax until late May. So a heated shaft would have been a welcome addition to our equipment room for sure.
Could have been the reason why they went, under with Under Armour lax, but I guess
back whenever with Gate now. And I think Gate's a position to revolutionize the game. And I think that with only time will tell, but I think they might be the next sponsor that's going to be the only ones that sponsor both field and like the NLL and the PLL, right? So I think that them and Warrior will be the future of lacrosse companies, and I think that they're in great hands of obviously their athletes and the way they're going to revolutionize the games.
So is BD 45 looking to get into that kind of thing, or is it clinics, teaching, training?
The clinics, but I mean, if anyone's out there, and I know there's a lot of stuff because behind the scenes you have to worry about in terms of branding and stuff like that for a company's sake to be able to pass the sticks out. But if someone wants to launch a BD 45 goalie head, by all means, I will give you the ingredients and stuff like that to be able to focus on it. But it's more so on the camps and clinic side. Originally, when I started the brand, I was doing a bunch of goalie lessons. I was just throwing it up in my story, and then I'd made a major change. So originally, I was in physical education. And I switched over to sports studies and personal and team coaching because I wanted to focus more on lacrosse instead of, we're going to play floor hockey today in the gym class. And, how kind of high school gym classes is. You got the kids that are involved and that they really want to be there. You got the kids that are kind of not really hands-on, don't really want to be there. They want to take their one minimum requirement for phys ed and they just want to get out of there, right? So focusing on lacrosse was something I wanted to do. And I started getting the wheels turning, at Christmas time this year about it, because I'd always done goalie lessons for in the summertime and all kind of stuff. And you go down to the States, you see the Goalie Smith experience and everything that the Goalie Smith guys are doing with Mike, Andrew, Drake, Meg. They're doing a great job. And I think that for me, I'm like, well, these Canadian kids aren't exposed to this. Why can't I come home and do this for the Canadian kids? And I start thinking like, oh, maybe I can work under a Goalie Smith Canada. But I was like, screw it. Let's just go with it's in the day and age where it's NIL, name, image, and likeness, all that kind of stuff. So why not go with BD 45 goaltending? My logo, it's my girlfriend did a great job on it. I was like, I want something with like the Maple Leafs, like the initials, obviously my number, and then where I do all my lessons in Toronto is on it's on at Cherry Beach, which is a significant spot for a couple of reasons. One, because you get to see the skyline that goes all the way across the city right behind it as you kind of go through it, and when the weather's right and the sun's out. And the other thing I kind of like put myself there is you talk about leaving a legacy at the hill of the 45, and Jameson Kuhlman has a plaque there, and I think that hits home with me and the kind of folks. So all that kind of stuff kind of came together with the logo. And once I had the logo, I was like, okay, like how can we do this for kids? And I want to basically take the Goalie Smith model of what they're doing and have it that kind of option for Canadian kids, because we talk about growing the game and growth of the sport and all this kind of stuff, right? Well, the only way that we're going to do it is people give back their time and want to get better. And, it's from a business side of things and have opportunity for these kids. So I think that if I'm able to go home, coach these kids up, again, Canadians are not necessarily the most traditional goalies with how they play the game in terms of how they stop it. And I would say most of the American style is more, they have the technical. Great technique. They're very technical. That's the word I'm looking for, right? Yep. So if I'm able to take more of the American school and still incorporate what the Canadian school has and to use whatever it takes to stop the ball, I think that the lacrosse world's going to be a lot better. I think that a lot of American goalies are trying to kind of utilize that as well. but I think it comes from more of a box perspective for Canadian kids, right? And I think that if I can do what the Goalie Smith guys are in terms of helping these kids find homes, get them to the next level, get them their education taken care of, they might not necessarily be the best lacrosse players in the world, right? But they're going to get a degree and they're going to do great stuff in the real world. They're going to understand it, and lacrosse is going to help them get there. And I think that if kids have goals of being, pro lacrosse goalies and professional lacrosse players, I just think that that's just ultimately what the league and the PLL and the NLL need. It's going to cause for more growth. It's going to get more kids playing the sport. It's just going to start being universal. It's going to be accessible. And I think that all these kids are going to benefit from it, and they're going to get, to the next level. And I'm always going to have access to, great shooters to be able to come out. All it takes is one text. Maybe I can get like a Jeff T, a Clark Peterson, a Dyson Williams, guys like that kind of come out and shoot on these goalies who are in high school. Because if you get better shooters, you're going to get better. Right. So always have the option of getting those kids in there. I just think it's about being able to put it together and have more kids being able to do it long term. And I think as the sport grows, be doing that for the guys and the girls. Right. My sister currently plays at Louisville. So, being able to have her as a shooter on the women's side will be great. And I think that, having the game more accessible for the guys side and the women's side is what's going to put, not only Lacrosse Canada at a better level for the goaltending side of things, but I think it's going to put lacrosse as a whole in a better place. And obviously, due to visa regulation and rules, I can't really do anything in the States yet. But if I'm able to get on a P1 or an OPT and kind of do something like that, that's something that's going to be in the near future. And I think that also tied into kind of the whole PLL kind of decision as well.
Absolutely. For the listeners that don't know you or have seen St. Bonnie's play, tell us a little bit about your style, how you like to save it, where you like to stand.
I'll give you kind of a brief rundown of it. I mean, I like to just throw anything at the ball, whatever. At the end of the day, I tell all these kids, you can be as technically sound as you want, but if you're not saving the ball and you're being technical, something's wrong. So kind of taking whatever I got to throw at the ball to kind of save it is something that I would say revolves around my style. It's unorthodox in a sense where, sometimes I'll be sit back a bit in my stance. Other times I might step out and challenge the shooter a bit more and tight. I think that the way I kind of play the game too is, I play the game hard. I try to get, loose balls around the cage, chop, whack, pick up a loose ball. And I think it's funny because I joke with a lot of my teammates about it too. You see the inside lacrosse fantasy stuff. So anytime I feel scoop through a ground ball or something like that, I'll joke with the teammates about how that's 2 fantasy points and, cause turnovers are 6 points for the fantasy, right? So I think that doing stuff like that and kind of being like a glue guy and bringing some energy is big. And I know that, guys will kind of give me crap sometimes about conditioning where, I might not be the fastest guy in the world, but I'm good for maybe one run a game where I can get, turn the jets on, kind of crank them up and, go full speed. And we had a couple of games the past few weeks where I've been able to kind of get, a tough ground ball, come out with it, use my legs, run past a couple of guys and get the boys going with a little bit of an energy play that leads to goals. And I think that stuff like that is what teams need. You need energy guys. You need guys who can get the job done when you're kind of in a slump and, get possessions for the boys. And I think that, we have a lot of guys like that down here, or I guess up here, depending on where you're looking at it from. Maybe if you're looking at it from Canada, it's down here, but maybe for where you guys are, it's up here. But
Southern California.
Yeah. So maybe we definitely do have a couple of California guys that have had to adjust to the cold weather, but they're starting to get it. And I think that, like my style is different. It's not orthodox. But I just got to use whatever it takes to make a save and then, make sure I get that ball and clear. And it's kind of cliche, but Coach Mearns, and I joke about it a lot about, hey, all you got to do, man, is just save the ball and clear the ball. That's it. Whatever else happens between that is irrelevant. Just save the ball, clear the ball, get the job done. Yeah, do your job.
That makes it sound easy.
The offense. That's it. I think that simplifying it's allowed me to kind of have a lot of success this year. Obviously, our team's had a lot of success as well. I think that attributes to our coaching staff with Nico Capron on the DN, Gil Connors on the offensive end, Nick Clint at the faceoff X, and Coach Mearns being a philosopher and a motivator, taking care of the clear as well.
Great, Brett. You mentioned being a glue guy on the field. We like to ask our guests about a glue guy off the field, right? Can you give us a Bonnie that maybe not everybody knows about? Likes to keep it loose, snap it around the locker room, just like a good locker room guy we should know about.
Yeah, I'm gonna give love to my roommate, Brody Anderson. He went with me at the Hill for a year. I've started living with him ever since my second year at school. He's one of those guys that I got a lot of gratitude towards and a lot of respect because he, can't really play right now. He's concussed. He's had a couple of concussions throughout his time here. But ultimately, the reasons why he's kind of had this because he's took a bullet for me out in the field, stepping in that shooting lane, eating a shot in the helmet. So I think that Just him being, who he is and just being a beauty from, Winnipeg, Manitoba, I think is something that kind of goes a long way. If you guys don't know about it, it's really cold over there where he comes from. It's not your traditional hotbed. And I think that it carries into his personality, how he is in the locker room with the boys, how he is, outside of lacrosse, and how he is in the postgame with the fellas. Because I think that, he gets it going and he keeps the boys going. A lot of the guys will joke his nickname's, the bus, because when I was at the Hill, Brody Merrill kind of said he looked like Jerome Bettis when he kind of got the engine going when he's running with the ball, and it's kind of stuck ever since. And, everyone calls it bus, but going back to it, all the boys will wear like his like pennies or stuff like that. And like with the number 18 with Bonnie stuff on it for game, then they'll start saying it's bus day. It's bus day at home. So he's definitely a glue guy in that sense. And because he's not able to play, I think it adds value to him. And he's just, an all around good guy. And a big beauty. Anybody that listens to this podcast will definitely know what I'm talking about in terms of who the bus is. And they'll know as soon as you meet him. He's a character. He's going back home to work in in the finance world in Winnipeg, Manitoba. So I got to tip my cap to him for being a glue guy.
Love that.
That's awesome.
Gotta love the nod to the injured crew too. The boneyard's important.
Oh yeah. Those are the guys. Those are the guys that are going to be sitting there talking a lot of shit at the end of the bench to the opposing team, but they're always going to be the first guys. If you make a sick play, are going to get the whole bench going. Every team needs guys like that. As much as you don't have guys who are hurt, you want to have guys who, embrace their roles, and, guys who do that really well. We have a lot of guys who are able to do that and help the team out if they're not able to play.
Absolutely. What is the hottest song going in the St. Bonnie's locker room?
Say that one more time.
What's the hottest song you guys got going in the St. Bonnie's locker room?
I'm gonna have to go with right back where it started from. It's the post game one, just because we get that kind of we like joke around. We got a lot of Canadian kind of guys, and you get that box kind of feeling and mindset. So kind of getting that kind of getting that thing right back to where we started from. So I think that's kind of the big post game one. And then the other one that's big is pregame. We get the Active Fool 3-6 Mafia techno remix. So we'll have that'll be the last song we listen to as we go out of the locker room, and we'll play that song, and all the boys kind of get going, and we'll play it at the bar post game, and it turns into a huge mosh pit, which is unbelievable. It gets the boys going.
Brett, that sounds absolutely electric.
Oh, it is pretty electric, and I think the school's kind of started to embrace it now and understand that when that song comes on, it's it's time to get things going. It's when the night really starts,
baby.
Yeah, exactly. Go time, baby.
That's awesome. Well, I think that wraps it up, man. This has been incredible. Thank you for hopping on and talking to us about what you have going at St. Bonnie's in the future, especially. It's really cool to hear what you have firing up.
Yeah, no problem, man. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for your time. I know any chance you get to talk about St. Bonaventure and, expose new people to what St. Bonaventure University is, and especially the lacrosse side of things, or even talk about, my past or upbringing and, within lacrosse and, even my brand with BD45 goaltending. I think it's a great day. And I think that, I think hopefully your listeners will enjoy it. And, it was my pleasure to kind of sit here and talk to you guys today. I had a lot of fun, even though it was, a little bit shorter, but hey, that's okay, because I definitely enjoyed it.
Dude, Brad, we really appreciate your time. Good luck against Canisius this weekend, and good luck the rest of the way, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it, fellas. Take it easy.
What a pleasure to have on the show.
Absolutely. An elite goaltender, and also really refreshing to see a guy put the work in off the field, start his own business, and really kind of lay the groundwork for the life he wants to live. So much respect to Brett Dobson. That was really something.
Yeah, a true entrepreneur and a lax rat, which we love here on Snapping Towels. I think there's no better kind of guy. He's tapped into the scene. He knows the older guys from Canada. As he mentioned, he's very comfortable in his own skin, which you love as a goalie. I think you need that. Reminds me of one I played with
for sure
back at Loyola. But yeah, he was fireworks, and as I alluded to pre-show, and he also made a comment that it was quite a short interview, which was surprising.
The longest interview we've had this year.
So we're going to have to get him back on the mix and get him for an hour special, hopefully when he cracks a roster, talk to him about the pro lifestyle.
And also going to want to hear his insight on the World Games this summer. I think it's think it's safe to say he'll be a Team Canada goalkeeper.
Yeah, as we hope here on Snapping Towels that our interviewees have success later in years and
in
for
all
goals,
facets of life.
but also talk about a perfect major for him as a sports training coach major, I guess.
Pretty unbelievable.
I'm like, dude, if you don't have all A's, I want to talk to these professors about what's going on, because this dude can talk, and you definitely think he's got some good papers he's been cranking out at St. Bonnie's about how to inspire, how to coach, how to
Couldn't be
change
more
the game.
passionate about what he's pursuing.
A true philosopher in his own right.
Yeah, for sure. And, you see a lot of college kids, maybe either majoring in something that they think is going to be, really easy and allow them to live the life that they want to live while they're there, or they're majoring in something that they feel like they should be majoring in because, that's what society wants or their parent
90%.
wants. For Brett Dobson, as Kyle said, being so comfortable in his own skin, for him to be that self-aware and put himself in such a unique position to succeed is it's a beautiful thing. And we wish nothing but the best for B Dobbs.
BD45.com. Check him out. Get the gear. And any lax companies that are listening, get that guy ahead, because as he said, he'll give you the secret sauce to make it.
He'll give you the goods for sure. Also, get your kids in his goalie schools too.
Yeah. No, they're going to be full of knowledge and good action and good shooters.
Yep. Hell yeah.
On to the Riff Sash, tourney scenarios. Let's talk ball. Let's talk postseason. It's kind of crazy, but a team no one's talking about is the Maryland Terps. And it's a little bit like I heard it with the Miami Heat. Is no one talking about them because they're really good?
Yeah. It's interesting. We have not talked about them enough, partly because
they take care of business every week.
Partly because of the Big Ten Network absolutely screwing us and not allowing us to see the second half of the season of the Big Ten games. And also because they're just smoking teams.
And you get our money back for that, by the way.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to write an email to the Big Ten Network.
Joke.
But we rarely talk about blowouts here on Snapping Towels, right? We like to keep our, our episodes tight. And we're not discussing too many 22-5 victories that the Maryland Terps are laying on teams, but they've separated themselves from the pack. If you look at the
sick highlights, also their social media video cutters on fire. Dude, he's been laying out some serious highlights. And
if you had these players putting content out like that, giving you opportunities for content like that.
You think, but a lot of teams screw it up. A lot of schools don't invest in it, and they lose out on these opportunities as far as recruits. I think Tillman sees what it does for recruits and how excited it gets them on campus. Also, Wisnowski's dime to DeMaio on the lefty wing, sidearm sling, was a thing, a piece of art, motion art to be exact. But yeah, I thought that was incredible, and shout out to their video guy. One thing we didn't talk about last show that ended up being a burner, also what I thought Cam was saying earlier in a rivalry of sorts, which is funny. Colgate Loyola ended up being a serious heater.
Yeah. Funny how we think we're going to talk about tournament scenarios, and then we go to two teams that are most likely not going to make the NCAA tournament. But
Maryland is.
Yeah, but we're talking about.
No. We'll talk tournament scenarios after this.
Colgate
Loyola. We need to talk about this burner quick in the Patriot League that had my eyes glued.
Colgate Loyola. Look, you got two proud alumni here. I think I like to call it a rivalry game. I think Kyle kind of scoffs at that. Maybe turns his nose up at calling that a rivalry game.
It's most definitely not a rivalry game.
Look, I want to give Colgate some credit. They've hung tough with some good teams here in recent weeks. A couple of these 1-goal losses turning into wins kind of changes the whole momentum and whole vibe on a season, and then moving into 2023. Unfortunately, they haven't been able to come out on top. Not a lot of good stuff going on in Hamilton right now. But they gave Loyola all they can handle, and give credit to Evan James, who really showed up as well, Loyola midfielder.
Yeah, Loyola scored 3 times on their last 3 possessions, including overtime, and their D also showed up to kind of put the clamps down on a Colgate offense that was really in a flow. And yeah, no, I thought it was an incredible game, and shout out to the Hounds, of course.
Yeah, the Minnick, I love, just a little bit of Colgate riff. I love the Minnicus brothers. Their game, both of them are excellent players. I think Brian Minnicus could play anywhere. I really think he's that good. Michael Minnicus is a little bit younger. Both brothers out of Darien, just excellent players. Colgate's got some stuff. They got some goods moving into 2023. I got my eye on them. Inside Lacrosse had them as a surprise team to watch, and I kind of jumped on that bandwagon back in January. I was wrong.
Roger. Back to tournament scenarios. Aside from our Patriot League fantasies, let's talk Maryland. We talked about they're not slowing down. They'll be a 1 seed. Georgetown isn't slowing down either, looking like the Big East being as weak as it is, weak as we've seen in a lot of years. Usually have a feisty Marquette team or a big time Denver team making some waves, and then it's kind of Georgetown's been that, second team in that league. It's their league.
There are three things that I think we can. 2 things this coming weekend that have huge implications for the tournament. One thing I do want to say about last weekend, High Point is done. The SoCon's not getting 3 teams. High Point is done. They got smoked by Richmond. Unless High Point somehow pulls a rabbit out of the hat and wins the SoCon tournament, which they're not going to do. They're done.
They could.
They're not. So they're finished. Disappointing. I liked High Point early in the year. They've got some really nice personnel. Asher Nalting's a great player. I still stand by the fact that I think he's going to be a great pro.
He's really slowed down though late in this season. So
Yeah.
I would kind of bag that. But no, I think he's going to be a great pro too. He's been a staple there. He's just getting keyed on so much, and no one's really picked up the slack. It's tough.
Yeah. And the SoCon's got some good polls, man. You draw a number 1 SoCon poll like a Colin Hinton.
6. He could be at Maryland right now.
Yeah, it's no picnic. Moving forward for this weekend, so there's a huge storyline right now about the ACC. Typically, they get everybody in. They get all 5 teams in. It's very rare that they don't get 4 of the 5. Very often they get all 5. We are looking at a potential scenario here where the ACC only gets 2 teams in. Virginia is a lock. Duke, I think, has cemented themselves as a lock. Notre Dame did a lot of great work with this win against UNC this past week. Right now, they are in my opinion. But they go to Syracuse for the Syracuse Oranges Senior Day in the Dome this weekend. I think that if Notre Dame loses to Syracuse, which isn't out of the question. Syracuse has been giving teams some real games lately, and they've got players who can score, and they're going to be showing up on Senior Day. And if North Carolina loses to Duke, which I think they will, I think it's highly possible that the ACC only gets 2 teams in.
Yeah, no, and that's how they've played this year. It's really, losing now to conference teams, not battling, not shaking up the league in conference when they get the chance. Syracuse injuries. It's just something new every week for these teams that are on the outside. And it's a bummer for Carolina and Chris Gray, because he's the caliber of player where, he's on the right team. He can go to a national championship. So, I feel for him in his senior year, but he's got a lot brighter things ahead of him.
Yeah, another big storyline about the tournament, which has been talked about all year, is just how many teams the Ivy League is going to get in. If that does happen with the ACC and they only get 2 teams in, I think it's very likely that the Ivy League does in fact get 5 in, which would be pretty incredible. If a team that doesn't make a conference tournament gets in, there'd be a lot of people with palms up, some unhappy campers. But I think this league deserves it. I think that what they've done this year, what they've put on display, they deserve 5 teams. The only way they don't get the only way an Ivy League team doesn't get in that should be in is if some other conference tournaments go as we don't expect them to go, right? A Jacksonville, say High Point ends up doing what Kyle said they might do, win the SoCon.
Or Richmond wins the SoCon.
Yeah, but I think Richmond's.
You think 3 SoCon teams get in if High Point wins the SoCon?
No. But I think if it goes as planned, if Jacksonville beats Richmond in the final, I think Richmond has a very good shot of getting in.
I hope.
I think they will. But again, like the CAA,
Big Ten has 3.
Probably.
You can throw Ohio State in there.
They're going to be on the bubble. Maryland and Rutgers are a shoo-in. Ohio State, kind of interesting. Last night they had a kind of a nail biter against Michigan, 14-12. They have to go to Michigan this weekend again to play. If Ohio State loses that game, which they could, I mean, Michigan just gave them trouble, and 6 days later they have to play. If Ohio State loses that game, they're not in. Big Ten only gets 2 in.
Yeah, that's tough. But
it'll be interesting. And look, everybody, Kyle mentioned the Hoyas. Let's not forget about the Hoyas. They've been kind of in the shadows this year on Flow TV, which I think they probably get 11 viewers a game. The Georgetown Hoyas could win a national championship. Like a Maryland-Georgetown game would be an absolute slugfest. That would be just insane.
A burner.
That would be insane.
I mean, I'm here. I would sign that up right now. I would love to see that happen next weekend. We could just call the other nonsense, it seems like. But, that's why it's the tournament. Everyone's got to show up, and some Ivy Leagues are going to make some upsets happen, I think, especially if they're getting in these seeds that are kind of lower, playing some higher seeds coming from AQs. I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah, one crazy stat I want to throw out there about Georgetown this past weekend. If you go to Inside Lacrosse, you've never seen a box score this long. They had, granted, they smoked St. John's, which is having an absolute miserable year. The game was 23-6. Georgetown had 21 players register a point.
Everyone's eating.
I've never heard of anything like that.
That's a big one. That's the roster on the Inside Lacrosse box score. Also, Tommy Lee with that highlight reel goal for BU. I forgot to mention. Sick wraparound in the bottom corner. That went viral. But enough about last weekend and the future. Let's talk this weekend. Who's showing up or shutting up? It's that time of year.
Yeah, it's kind of a 2-week witching hour we had last week and this week. First, let's start it off with Army at BU. Friday Night Lax.
Ooh, this is a tough one because BU is kind of getting the dragon that just got poked. Navy poked the bear.
True.
Army's not going to want to lose 2 in a row, especially the Patriot League teams. I'm going BU at home. A little prelude to what the Patriot League tournament's going to look like.
I think it's going to be an excellent game. I think BU is a lot better than we all thought they are. Thought they were. I think Army's going to win the game. Army's desperate for a W. As I said earlier, I think, had they taken care of business against Navy, and not had that bad loss on their resume, I think they'd be a shoo-in to get into the NCAA tournament no matter what. I don't think that's the case anymore, and they're hungry for a quality win. And BU is now a quality win, and I think they go get it this weekend.
Most definitely 7-0 in the Patriot League Boston stands. They're going to want to give them that first loss. Also, I love that's a Friday night lacrosse game in Boston. Yep. I hope the weather's a little warmer than usual, but another Friday night in conference, Georgetown, Villanova. Who do you got?
Going with the Hoyas. Got to go with the Hoyas.
As am I. Yeah, I think they're rolling right now. It's too close to playoffs for any early season shenanigans. Villanova's offense is dangerous, so
Villanova's pretty good.
It's going to be a good test defensively for Georgetown, but they've got 2 first-team All-Americans down there at close defense and goalie, and a near second-team or third-teamer as well at the defensive end. So they're up for the challenge. Cornell, Princeton in Ivy, massive tilt due to the losses these teams just had.
Yeah, so much on the line here. It's insane. I'm going with Cornell. Cornell, they coming off 2 really tough losses. I think they might be a little bit hungrier than Princeton right now for this W. And And as we said earlier, we know Princeton's offense is going to put up nice numbers, but they can't stop a nosebleed. And I think this is the opportunity for Cornell's offense to get back on track.
I love that prediction. I'm going to join you there. I'm going Cornell. I'm saying Ireland with a huge game, getting a win on the road right before tournament time is going to be huge. Harvard at Yale.
These Ivy League games is just insane. I'm taking Yale. I think Yale is more experienced. I think they're a slightly better team, top to bottom, and I think Yale's playing for it all this year. I'm taking Yale at home. Take care of business.
I'm going the Crimson, riding this wave of these freshman boys.
Could happen.
I'm going the Crimson with a huge win at Yale. It probably hasn't happened in 100 years.
If that happens and Harvard and Brown have put together this final home run stretch,
someone's getting screwed. One of the top teams that we thought is going to be super upset.
Yeah, no doubt. Most likely the Penn Quakers. Ohio State, Michigan. Last night was a banger, and we got the pleasure of seeing it again this weekend in the Big Ten quarterfinal. Who do you got?
I'm going blue. It's a household favorite here in Los Angeles. I'm going Michigan to upset them. These teams swap losses and wins every year, it seems like. This is going to be a huge win for Michigan to snap their 7-game losing streak, which we called on Snapping Towels back in the second episode. But they're going to get 8. They're going to be 8-7 by the end of the season. I'm going blue. Who do you got?
I'm taking Ohio State. I think the Buckeyes are a better team. I don't think it's a wide margin. I think Michigan looks like they're playing pretty well right now. They gave Rutgers a serious game 2 weeks ago. So they're coming off of 2 nice performances against 2 good teams. I think Rutgers is a very good team, and Ohio State is pretty solid. I can see how somebody would say the Big Blue is due for a win. I think it's another battle of a game, but I'm going with the Buckeyes to edge them out.
Hometown boy.
Senior Notre Dame. Yeah, Notre Dame Q, senior day in the Dome.
I'm going Notre Dame. Even though I love Q's, I love what they've got going. Gary, Petro, it's fireworks over there. I gotta go Notre Dame though. They're playing great ball and they're gonna go in the Dome. They're not gonna be fazed by senior day. It almost kind of lights a fire in the opposing team. It's like, how can we kind of shower this parade? And the bagpipe is gonna do the showering.
I'm going with a bold prediction here. I think Syracuse wins on senior day. Storybook ending to a tough year for the Orange, and the ACC only gets 2 teams in the tournament.
Roger that. Duke UNC, huge letdown of a game earlier in the year. We're going to Duke this time. Who do you got?
I think Duke's going to spank him.
Yeah, me too. I think Duke, if they lose this game, it's a real tough look for the ACC and probably taking them out of the tournament, perhaps. I'm going Duke as well.
Who's your favorite matchup for the weekend? What do the fans need to have their eyes on?
Ooh, there's a lot of good ones this week. A couple rivalries, a lot of playoffs on the line. I'm going Army BU in Patriot League. I think that's the juiciest. It's similar. It's similar to Ohio State, Michigan.
A little bit, yeah.
If Michigan had a better season,
I think Army BU is going to be a real battle. I think haymakers going to be thrown all over the place. Both teams are extremely physical. I like that pick a lot. I can't wait to watch that on Friday night.
It's gonna be great.
In Boston too. I think that's kind of cool.
Most definitely cool.
I'm going with Cornell at Princeton. We talked about it earlier. Both these teams are desperate for a win coming off the last couple of weeks. I think Cornell gets it done. It's gonna be an electric game.
As do I. Okay, that was a serious episode with a lot of playoffs coming down the barrel. We're excited for the playoffs here on Snapping Towels. We'll be with you every step of the way. If you haven't already, check us out on Twitter at Snapping Towels. We'll be tweeting games all weekend and kind of let you guys know what plays we've been watching and what we're thinking during these burners.
Yeah, no doubt. Also want to give, again, one more time, special love to Brett Dobson for joining us and giving us one hell of an interview.
All right, that should do it. Thanks for listening.